This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Oliver Friesen, the CEO of Golden Metal Resources, following an announcement from the company that they have staked claims in the Kibby Basin, where recent lithium brine discoveries have been made. Now, these claims are located near the company's flagship Pilot Mountain project, which is in the Walker Lake mineral belt in Nevada. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Oliver. How are you doing, first of all?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks for having me on again. We seem to be chatting quite regularly now.
Indeed. Well, that's a testament to the news flow since IPO of Golden Metal Resources. Now, the RNS states that Nevada is known for significant lithium deposits, and the lithium properties that you've taken cover an area close to Golden Metal's drill holes, which encountered a thick zone of lithium brine mineralization. How did you discover this opportunity here? Were you tipped off? Did you discover it yourself? And how was the subsequent decision to make a stake made?
Yeah, Mark. So the way that this came about is it's a bit of an interesting story, but I first want to encourage listeners to have a quick read through of the RNS once again, and most importantly, a look at Figure 2, which we published along with the RNS, and you'll see in there that I've outlined the location of the actual Pilot Mountain claims, as well as mill site claims. Now, mill site claims are part of the Pilot Mountain project, but there's various water boreholes, or there's a water borehole on those mill site claims. And some water testing that was done historically actually returned elevated lithium in those groundwaters. And then if you look at that map, once again, you go towards the southeast, you'll see that we get closer to what's a playa lake, which often is an indication of lithium enrichment. So that those mill site claims clip sort of the edge of this lithium basin. And because that lithium, the waters there were enriched in lithium, it tipped us off to the fact that there was a lithium basin there. And you'll see where the claims that we've staked or we've acquired they're in sort of the heart of the basin. So it's kind of a fortuitous and interesting story. But the Kibby Basin, once we start to dig into it, some really, really encouraging and interesting lithium brine discoveries were made there quite recently, and we have a very core piece of that. So very fortuitous, and we're really happy to have the properties in the portfolio now.
So was the decision taken pretty swiftly to stake the claims?
Yeah, once we identified it, it was we moved quite quickly.
Okay.
Because our stakers are on the PST, I had a few late nights there getting everyone ready to go, but it's certainly worth it now with having those properties in the portfolio. So
well, you seem happy about it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're very close to the Pilot Mountain project. I mean, how could both properties now effectively, or both projects, complement each other? Some potential synergies between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that they're, I think it's 2.5 to 5 kilometers away, or maybe even a bit less than that from Pilot Mountain, means that the synergies are pretty much as good as it gets. Another thing just to note is that we have roads that go all across Pilot Mountain, which also go towards the Kibby properties and across those properties. So you could probably drive from Pilot Mountain to the Kibby properties in probably under 5 minutes along relatively well-maintained roads. So in terms of exploration synergies, that's about as good as it gets. When it comes to permitting, things like that, it's all going to be treated as one property. And as well as with exploration, whether it's drilling or geophysics, effectively, we can treat this as one property. So we can get crews to go and tackle and do various surveys across both of the properties in one swoop. So you save on things like mobilization and just general crew costs are much less. So it's as an exploration geologist myself, to have two properties with such potential and obviously with Pilot Mountain having the in-ground resource, it's a dream come true, and it's going to be really exciting to push the exploration and development forward across both these at the same time.
It's very interesting that you say you're going to treat it as one sort of project now, really. So you're going to effectively give both the lithium and the tungsten an equal sort of vested interest in your exploration plans.
So it's I think it's first of all important to note that these are two separate properties. The geology is very different when it comes to the lithium and the tungsten. The only reason we're going to sort of treat them as one is just due to the proximity. And we honestly just got really lucky with the fact that this fantastic opportunity was pretty much at the doorstep of Pilot Mountain. So they're very separate geological opportunities, but just because of the synergies, we'd be remiss to not push them forward in tandem. So in terms of how we're going to balance the two, we'll certainly put out some future RNSs in the coming weeks here to outline, first of all, what we're seeing technically at the Kibby Basin properties, but also on top of that, what we're going to be doing on the exploration side at each of those, and how we can potentially, tap into some of those synergies across both those properties, considering how close they are.
Well, it certainly makes exploration a lot easier, doesn't it? If you've got drill rigs in the area, teams in the area, that kind of thing. So that's all very good. You mentioned there that they are two very different geological settings, which I also find interesting. And I was going to ask you, is it normal to find lithium near perhaps a tungsten deposit? Or how does the terrain differ? Because Pilot Mountain is clearly a big mountain. We've seen pictures of that. Whereas lithium, particularly in brines, as you mentioned in the RNS, they tend to be found on sort of salt flats, don't they?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mark. And once again, I encourage investors to have a look at some of the maps we put out, because you'll see the relative location of those two properties. And the Kibby Basin properties are directly in the bottom of the basin, whereas Pilot Mountain is sort of on the foothills and into the mountains. So to answer your question, no, it's not particularly common to find lithium next to tungsten. They are very separate mineralizing systems. Just so happened that the Kibby Basin was the basin that essentially lines or is sort of covered by the Pilot Mountains, or the Pilot Mountains to the west. So very lucky. Obviously, geology doesn't care about companies like Golden Metal Resources. So we got really lucky with the fact that they're so close and the proximity there, but very different mineralizing systems. But I think as we continue to put out news here, investors will see that there's a tremendous potential at the Kibby Basin properties. And obviously we already have the largest undeveloped tungsten deposit at Pilot Mountain. So a pretty fantastic 1-2 punch here.
Good. Well, you certainly seem very encouraged, Oliver. It's good to see that. I look forward to seeing some of the plans as you draw them up and can get them out to the market. But just a final thought from you. Clearly, Nevada, Pilot Mountain is your flagship project. Nevada looking to be your flagship area now with the addition of the lithium claims just announced recently. Could you perhaps provide a bit of an overview of the company's long-term vision for the Nevada-focused portfolio and thus the hoped-for benefits and value creation for Golden Metal Resources shareholders?
Yeah, of course, Mark. So obviously the portfolio has grown today. We've added lithium, which I think is a metal that it is one that a lot of investors want to get exposure to. It's one that I wanted to get exposure to. I think the long-term outlooks here in terms of pricing, in terms of scarcity, supply, demand fundamentals are about as good as they get for any metal right now. So it's a great one to add to the portfolio. And our current investors now get exposure to tungsten and the criticality of Pilot Mountain as it stands alone. But also now we investors can get exposure to lithium by investing in Golden Metal Resources. On top of that, we have other assets in the portfolio and projects, which are fantastic in their own right. Golconda Summit with gold, and then Garfield with copper and silver and gold, and then Stonewall with gold and silver. So you get a plethora of really in demand and exciting metals. In terms of how we're going to push this forward, one of the next steps here will be to announce some of the technical review findings effectively of the Kibby Basin properties. The way that it works in Nevada is all data is proprietary, which is why we were able to come up with this staking opportunity. We had some ins, and we were able to tap into our network to find some historical reports which showed the potential at Pilot Mountain, at the Kibby Basin properties. So we'll put out some more technical findings from that property. And I think investors, once they see that, will understand why I'm so excited right now, because I've kind of looked at those and there's some really exciting technical fundamentals associated with that basin, as well as the areas that we've staked. So we're going to be pushing forward the entire portfolio. That's always been our plan and our intention. We've put out some really exciting news on Pilot Mountain over the last few weeks here. Some really exciting geophysical exploration targets were identified. We've also announced the offtake agreement with GTP. So there's a lot going forward right now, but we'll continue to roll out this news here across the portfolio. And certainly investors will start to see some of the news that we put out covering our Kibby Basin properties. So, if you invest in Golden Metal Resources, you get very strategic and very critical in-ground resource at Pilot Mountain. And we've touched on all the reasons why that's such an important asset right now in Nevada and the U.S. But now we're going to get the lithium moving here, and there's some really exciting exploration opportunities there alongside the rest in the portfolio. So very diverse business. Very much exploration forward. So the news flow that investors have come to accustomed to with gold metal post list here will certainly hopefully continue to be the norm here. And there's going to be a bit of lithium thrown in there as well. And it's a pretty exciting one. So it's going to be busy, and we're going to continue to try to unlock value anywhere we can, which I think we've certainly done here in the first about 6-7 weeks here since we've listed the company.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Maybe we can do a special feature on the lithium and the other projects, as you've got some information to share, and investors can really, get excited as you are. We'll see what you're seeing, hopefully. But for now, thank you very much for your time. Oliver Friesen, CEO of Golden Metal Resources.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mark. We'll chat again soon, I'm sure.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.